In updating the graphics for the game and kind of making it a little more contemporary, one of the common threads we had with the original was the UFO lore and things that are already out there and really exist on the internet already. And so, everybody knows what a little gray man is, and everybody knows what a flying saucer is, and even things like the Thin Man has some roots in the Slender Man. So there's a lot of lore and stuff that we're playing with that the original played with as well. And that's really the common ground for the look of the game that we share with the original. And moving forward, we looked at those things, trying to find, what were the common elements, what do people know, what do they understand, really play on things that people knew, and then give them a bit of a twist, and make them do something a little unexpected with them. So the process here at Firaxis and how we actually, go about making a game, there's a lot of collaboration, and ideas come from everywhere. And so when we were looking at doing the base, my lead technical artist and my lead modeler came in one day, and we've been looking at making the base probably a little more like the original game, where it wasn't top down. Like, we started that direction sort of, and then, we tried to make it top down is not terribly interesting because you're looking at the top of computers and tops of tables and people that are, all you see is the top of their head. And so we decided we would pitch the camera down a little bit, make it a little more like a level, and then that had its own set of issues that we were trying to work out. So one day my lead technical artist and my lead modeler walked into my office and said, hey, we got this idea, like, what if we took the base and we really made it an ant farm, which was something we had been calling it very early in the process, even before we actually started really working on the game. And I was like, well, what do you mean? And they're like, you've seen Life Aquatic, and they just played Shadow Complex, and they're like, what if we really truly made it an ant farm? Cut away, and when we build the base, we build down. I'm like, that sounds pretty cool. Why don't we try it? So he prototyped it, and he came and got me and Jake one day and said, hey, I think I'm ready to show you guys. And so we walked in, and as soon as we saw it, we were like, that's it, we're done. Like, let's keep going. And so, it was a natural fit for what we were doing visually in the tactical game as well. We were going for this, action figure, miniature sort of feel, and everybody had, either the G.I. Joe base, or they knew some kid down the street who had it, or like myself, who was probably a little old for the G.I. Joe base. I had the Star Wars, the Death Star, triangular dollhouse for boys. The Sky Ranger, there's a lot of jokes about how the Sky Ranger was the most expensive character in the game. The Sky Ranger is a really important element. It was one of the first things when we started. You have to have a sectoid, you have to have soldiers, you have to have a Sky Ranger. And so, like, as we started developing the Sky Ranger, it had all sorts of gameplay wrinkles and things that we decided we were going to do, and then we decided we were going to cut out. So it was a pretty important design element that went back and forth in some ways, which caused us to redo it a few times. So the way we tried to design the characters, and another common link we sort of have with the original is that the original characters reflected very simple gameplay mechanics. Like, what their abilities were and the things that they did and the things that made them unique, they were already sort of kind of concepted into the character. So when we took over and the characters that we decided to make that were shared with the original, a lot of our design decisions and things that the mechanics we were including were similar. So there were some natural start points for us there. The floater, he's got to levitate off the ground. As we started getting more and more into the game, he had to be a character that was able to take cover, and so the length of the body that we originally had didn't really work super well with the gameplay. So we ended up shortening him so he could actually be a character that got in cover and could move around. But yeah, a lot of the stuff we did, that is shared with the original game is that they were really going after conveying those same sort of information. And so for us, it was an easy launch. We started in the same places, and the sectoid looked frail and thin, and he's stronger psionically, and the Mutant, this is your big bruiser soldier. And so he should look that way. He's a bit of a pro wrestler. He's more of a gorilla. And so with each character, they had their own little unique twist. And so you end up with this menagerie of characters that all hopefully fit somewhat together, but are all very different. Well, one of the very first things we did, like really one of the very first things we did, we wanted to attack the camera. We wanted to bring the player into our world. We wanted to make it more immersive. You know, when you look at the original game, the choice to have the camera out where it was had nothing to do with you know, that's where the camera, they wanted the camera to be all the time. It was a limitation, and it worked for the game that they made. And in looking at all the subsequent games that have been made since, you know, the camera always just happens to stay in the same place. We thought that was a place we could really attack, change the genre a little bit, and pull people into our world. You know, we want the player to have these sort of rewards and these sort of moments, these wow moments, and also on top of that, there are opportunities for us to not only make, you know, some pretty cool things and visual moments for the player, but they convey information. I mean, you know, when you drop down into reaction fire and you see your guy running, and you decide to move your character, and all of a sudden the camera drops down, and you see your guy going in slow-mo, and you see somebody targeting him, you're like, crap, don't get hit, don't get killed. It's that same sort of thing. So we took these opportunities to not only just make cool art, but also and make an immersive environment, but we wanted to reinforce what the designer was trying to tell the player. And so, you know, we try to keep them out of the way as much as possible, and I think we've done a real good job balancing that. You know, we're very aware of the potential of those becoming intrusive, and we've gone back and forth a lot about how to curb them in a way and tailor them so that they are additive to the experience and not something that becomes an annoyance. So I think we've actually achieved a pretty decent balance of it at this point. You know, I think when you're making a cover-based game, I mean, it becomes very, you know, there are points where when you're dealing with gray boxes that you can, like, man, what am I going to put there? We need cover in this spot to make the level work. And you know, our level artists have done and our concept guys in particular have done an amazing job of translating these gray box spaces and these abstract environments that are great, fun gameplay spaces, which they have to primarily be in the beginning, into spaces that are now really usable and believable and make sense to the player. And especially early on when you're in the process, if you don't already have your library of assets, you know, you're relying much harder on your concept guys and your level artists to make sense of these spaces. As you start to get more and more objects and more things available for you to lay down creatively, it becomes a little easier. But early on, it can be brutal, but it works out. You know, it's worked out pretty well. Well, for us, it's lucky everything's destructible. So, you know, the mode is we go in there and everything has to blow up, and you know that's one of the hallmarks of XCOM. It's one of the things we were dead set on. You know, it's got to be destructible. Everything's got to be able. The map changes. You know, you could play the same map 40 times, and it's going to be different every time because, you know, if a wall blows out over here or it blows out over there, the map changes. It's a living design, and so it changes as you're playing it out, and depending what aliens you're encountering or whatever. You know, so, you know, that's something that's paramount to what we did, just as much as permadeath is. You know, we had to have those elements. XCOM Enemy Unknown will be out October 9th US, October 12th International, and it's available on PC, 360, and PS3.